Today I'm going to be walking through a week of training for one of my Masters athletes, Jim, who recently qualified for the Masters CrossFit Games in the 45 to 49 division, which is going to be coming up in Labor Day. So as of the recording of this, the week that I'm going to be programming is 13 weeks out from the CrossFit Games. So basically, we're going to have 2 cycles of prep for him, and this is just before that kind of gets really intensive. So while we are still having the end goal of mine in preparing for Legends, the Masters CrossFit Games, it is sort of an opportunity for us to reestablish some of the fundamentals, the important patterns for him, and refining some of the things that are more of limitations for him specifically. So that being said, there's a number of things that we're attacking here, and with the biggest focal point just being the overall quality of the work that he's doing to keep the wear and tear on the joints and overall fatigue as low as we possibly can, so that he's actually healthy and feeling really good in a good place hormonally, joint wise, just mentally, and the fact that we're going to be approaching his competition prep more intensively coming up in the next 2 cycles. So we've got this is actually going to be the 3rd week of the current cycle. So often when I do programming TV, it's into the 1st week and I write out the template, do the whole thing. We're going to skip over all that today, and rather we're just going to build out his next week of training. And this is a good snapshot of what it looks like 3 out of 5 weeks into his current cycle. So that being said, let's dive in. So to start off his Monday, we are doing a run build. So this is really an opportunity for him to get some tolerance of the run pattern, because we have not been doing a lot of running, touches here and there, but really not extensively. And while all the workouts are probably going to be in the convention center in Birmingham, there is, I would say, a fair chance that CrossFit and the resources they have will encourage Legends to test running. I think that would be something that Adrian Bosman would be pretty heavy-handed about. And I would say, as long as I understand that it's either a big venue where there's an opportunity to like run around the different stages, or potentially just have air runners. And I think that probably air runners is the most likely case. However, I could be wrong. Either way, I think that's a helpful quality to have, and obviously has a lot of benefits to it. So we have the run build. We actually had him recently test his 5K, and then this is supposed to be lower work. That's again just designed to build that tolerance. So the main bulk of the session here, 5 rounds, 20 minutes total, 2 minutes running at his 5K time trial pace, and then 2 minutes walking at a brisk pace, nasal only. So he's going to be doing that on the air runner. And then the other piece of this, I wanted to get a little bit of burpee, maybe I wouldn't necessarily call it density, but more so like burpee practice that will lead into burpee density probably in like the next cycle or 2. And that is every 2 minutes times 4 sets, 7 bar facing burpees. That's supposed to be at like a methodical or relaxed pace that's more sustainable, and then immediately into 7 bar facing burpees as fast as possible. So 4 times through that, 7 at methodical pace, 7 as fast as possible. And then just basically prep work before that, and stretching and cool down stuff after that. So that's his AM, pretty low taxing, low stress work there. And then the PM, starting off with 6 rounds. This is overhead prep work, because we're doing a lot to just open up his shoulders and overhead position for now. 250 meter ski, damper 3, easy pace. 5 seconds stop, 5 seconds stop, 5 seconds of an elevated cat pose, end range isometrics with fingers interlocked. So basically, putting the fingers together like you'd be praying, so that way that the biceps is along the ear. That's mimicking like a single arm overhead position, something that you would need for like a kettlebell snatch, for a dumbbell overhead squat, for a rope climb, all those movements where you're having the bicep along the ear. So that's why it biases that way. And then basically you're doing cycles of contract, relax, where you're opening or closing the joint pails and rails there. And then 5 kettlebell Z press, so seated on the ground, pressing the kettlebell, 15 per hand. So light, but then you're having a 1 second pause at the top. 5 pausing tabletop glute bridge, again, just to get a little bit of shoulder extension work and activation. 5 strict presses with the empty bar with a pause overhead, and then 4 neck circles, because he's getting inverted, and I find that that's often helpful to have that in there. Then we move into the first piece, which is this is like handstand skill work stuff. So this is complementary patterns, not much interference. He's got a 15-minute clock, and I word it that way just because it's not an AMRAP. It's supposed to be quality focused. 10 calories on the C2 bike and the 25-foot handstand walks. Just working to be smooth and relaxed on those handstand walks. So just working on the quality of his handstand walking there. Again, that's like the big theme in this whole cycle is that you'll just see that it's all quality focused work. Next, pressing snatch balance 4x4 with the empty bar. And then SOTS press with heels elevated just to make that a little bit easier, but still challenge the movement, the pattern. Squat snatches 5.1.1.1. So cluster sets. So basically drop and reset each one of those singles. And then you got your first 3 sets at 135, the next 2 at 155. His max is, I believe, 215. So on the lighter side there. Again, just kind of drilling the positions to make sure that we're having the correct patterns when we go to load that a little heavier next cycle. And then we got every 2 minutes for 6 sets, 3.2.1 strict handstand pushup. And we're playing around with the strict handstand pushups because that's one of his relative weaknesses. And that's something where allowing to keep in those small cluster sets, because it's 3 plus 2 plus 1, so 5, 6 reps every 2 minutes for 6 sets. So it's 36 total reps. Again, not a lot of work, but what that allows for is him to keep the quality and the technique of those handstand pushups as high as he possibly can. Basically working to stay really vertical in the reps because tends to get a little bit pecky with his handstand pushups. So just working to stay as vertical as possible. And then parallel dips, 4x10, and then just some stretching mobility work after that as well. So again, in the grand scheme of things, not a terribly draining session, not a lot of metcons or anything like that. The next morning, we have basically a blended cyclical build. So this is more directed towards cardiac system and just keeping things as aerobic as possible. So joint rotations, warm up, and then the bulk of it is a 27-minute EMOM. Minute 1 will be 40 seconds on the air bike. Minute 2 will be 40 seconds on the ski. Minute 3 will be 40 seconds on the rower. And this whole thing is meant to be from minutes 1 to 9 at a 60% effort. So that should be roughly around zone 2. At this point, I'm not sure if he has a heart rate monitor yet or not. We had talked about it, but I'm not sure if he got it yet. That's why I give him both options. And then for minutes 10 to 21, 70% effort, or zone 3. Again, still pretty moderate. And then finally, minutes 22 through 27 at a 90% or hard effort. So really, it's all just sort of building up to those last 2 cycles where the last 2 times through is really where all the bulk of the stress is actually coming in. And then again, some mobility work after that. And then the PM, his PMs tend to be a little bit more robust, as you'll see, whereas like the AMs more just like kind of move around, get a little bit of a sweat in, work on some of like more of the aerobic qualities. And that's just based on like what he said, typically where he's feeling best. Okay, 15-minute choice cyclical, rotating machines as you see fit. Again, just basically that's essentially zone work, but varying the patterns based on what is feeling fresh or what he feels like doing. And then every 2 minutes for 8 sets. We have 3 box jump step downs to 30 inches from seated on a bench, 20-second saddle pose, 20 seconds of 99 hip rotations, 20 seconds of a squatting groin stretch, and 6 barbell front rack rotations. Again, prep work. B1, clean pull under, 3x3 at 65 pounds. Again, just kind of positional work, technique work for the clean. T-spine opener, supinated tuck, hold, hang, and thrusters with the full hand on the bar. Again, all this stuff is just focal points for him based on his unique limitations. 3, squat clean singles, building to weight for D. So D is front squats 4x2 at an RPE 8. So basically whatever he wants to use for D, he's going to build up to that in a squat clean. So if he wants to use 275 for his 4x2, he's going to build up to 275 in squat clean singles. And then E, 2 sets, resting 10 minutes between. So it's a nice long rest that is going to allow for high effort work. And then you have 4 time at a high effort, 15 calorie air bike, 8 bar muscle ups, and a 40-foot lunge with 70 pounds per hand. And that is a dumbbell lunge. So really that's just an opportunity to have a basically repeat sprint effort where 10 minutes is going to allow for him to put out, again, basically 100% effort each of those sets. So Again, looking in a much shorter time domain, very anaerobic work, and allowing for basically that effort to be repeated twice because we are in a little bit more of a building phase. And then we have a bunch of mobility work after that. 5 rounds of a couch stretch, supinated tuck hold hang, kneeling hip flexor stretch, and elevated cat pose. Again, just working on some of his focal points. Wednesday, really there's not much in the morning. When I say AM, it's really just more like movement work. Moving through 10 steel push-ups, 10 alternating scorpions, 20 seconds supine torso twist per way, and then he has 20-minute walking. And ideally, I want that before 10 a.m. just so he gets a little bit of sunlight in his eyeballs early in the morning, help anchor that circadian rhythm. And then I gave him the option on this day, if he wanted to, that he could sub out for some swim intervals that were easy. And then after his walk, when I'm going through the desk athlete mobility checklist. And then in the PM, we have snatch and jerk technique, horizontal pressing, vertical pulling, and then some intervals. So having him move through like basically a few rounds of air bike and ski, again, just warming him up. Positional prep, 3 rounds, 8 kettlebell windmills per side, warming up the shoulders, taking him through a big range of motion and open chain environment. 3 black burns, 30-second T chest stretch on the low rings, and then 5 bottoms up kettlebell strict press per arm. Again, all just prep work. 3 rounds, again, more prep work, 20-second squat and groin stretch, 10 snatch grip, barbell shoulder, internal, external rotations, empty bar, 20-second elevated Achilles stretch per leg, and 10 snatch grip, barbell overhead shrugs, again with the empty bar. Then moving into more specific barbell prep, 3 rounds with the empty bar, 4 pressing snatch balances, and 4 SOTS press with the heels elevated. No different than we saw on Monday. Today we got snatch balances, 6x3, building up in weight, and then push jerks, 5x3. Again, I originally had him at a pretty moderate weight, definitely not heavy. Technique focused stuff, we're going to stay at that same weight from the previous week, and we are adding a 2-second pause to the first rep dip. And then split jerk, same weights as last week, 4 sets of 2. Now we got a 2-second pause in the first rep catch. So basically catching in that split position. And then split jerk building to RPE 8.5 to 9 for a single, just because we haven't touched any real weight overhead for a little bit. So I wanted to give him just a little reminder to the nervous system of what it's supposed to do when it's called upon. And then supinated strict chest to bar, 5 sets of as many reps as possible with a 2-second lower. And then basically he's supposed to call those sets as soon as he either can't touch his chest anymore or he's forced to pause at the bottom of the rep. That's when his set is supposed to be called, like finished. And then we got strict ring dips, 5 sets of 8 to 10 for depth, right? Working to go as low as you possibly can in each of those reps. So for his intervals on this day, I wanted to, instead of doing deadlift, I wanted to use a sandbag clean, just because I think we're very likely to see that based on what we've seen out of Legends programming previously. And I think you are likely to get some sort of odd object, and a sandbag's a great way to do that in in-person competition without breaking the bank for people. And then we've seen in the past. So I think that's a very likely movement that could come out. And I wanted to combine that with something that I thought was sort of a good play that would kind of get him a little bit out of breath, but not was so taxing. So I thought a run was a good option for that. So this is what I ended up landing on. It was a 400-meter run, 10 lengths of a sandbag carry with a 150-pound bag. But you had to return the bag to the ground after each length. So basically you'd go 25 feet, drop the bag, and you'd have to pick it back up before your next length. So it's 10 lengths of that. So basically you're doing a clean plus a carry for 10 25-foot lengths, and then another 400-meter run. So I had some instructions along with this. He was resting 4 minutes in between and doing that for 3 total times. Basically, he was supposed to start at a conservative pace on the run, try to move pretty well in the bag, and then each set build on that run pace. And then after that was basically some, again, a little bit more stretching, flush work following that to end out the training day. On Thursday, that's his recovery day. Previously, I'd given him some run prehab stuff, just some lower leg health and things like that. And I'm actually going to move that to his rest day on Sunday this week instead. And that's just going to allow for him to get a little bit more recovery focused work, frankly, on this day, and some more movement work, because I'm just trying to drive that as much as I possibly can. So this is what it was starting off. and actually give these to a few different athletes. So this isn't individualized, but like sometimes I'll either pull from a different week if I don't think it's appropriate for him, or sub out certain movements or things based on what I see in front of me. So I'm not going to read through this, but basically it's a lot of cyclical work, low eccentric modalities, opportunities to just work on movements and positions and midline, and a little bit of stretching. So typical recovery day stuff there. Next, we're going to move to Friday morning, and this is going to be actually high-low intervals, so continuing to work the entire time through your rest period, but the recovery is going to be on the rower, and the stressful bit is going to be running. So here's one of the samples in this progression. Starting off with 1K row, easy pace, into a 400-meter run at a cruise pace, which should be a little bit quicker. Additional joint prep is needed, so just allowing him to do whatever he needs to get ready for this. And then 6 to 7 rounds, 400-meter run at 85 to 90% effort, so that should be a hard run, obviously, and then immediately into 400 meters of rowing at a 40% effort, so basically a recovery pace there. Yeah, and then afterwards, just walking a little bit and doing a little bit of hip flexor mobility. And then, so again, that was pretty short, concise morning session. The evening, again, is going to be a little bit more robust. Looking at tomorrow, knowing that that's going to be a name game session. And I always kind of like have little notes as to like look forward to make sure that everything kind of plays nicely and works. So this is what I landed on. 2 rounds, 1,000-meter bike erg and a 30-second supinated dead hang, 500-meter ski, 1-minute T-spine opener. And then we got dumbbell pullovers, tabletop glute bridges, soles to wall, handstand holds, where he's working on a few cues that I've given him. And then after 3 rounds of that, moving into barbell hip thrusts, which is basically just like some accessory work to keep the glutes strong and happy with the low back, handstand walking, and seated bicep stretch. Again, sort of like, quality focused work, accessory, a little bit of joint health again. And then into 7 minutes of handstand pirouette practice. So I don't necessarily think we're going to see pirouettes at Legends. I really don't think that's likely. I would say, you're probably pretty likely to see handstand walking, especially since you haven't seen it up to this point in the game season for the Masters. And I think that being said, it's still a good opportunity to, like, if you're better on your hands, just generally, you're obviously going to have an easier time handstand walking and dealing with the mistakes and just like the micro adjustments that you have to make as an athlete on the fly. You get much better at those things if you just have a little bit of a broader skill set generally on your hands, and you're just better upside down. So then we got 5 sets for quality, 10-second ring support hold, 10-second ring dip hold, 10-second single arm high plank hold. And really for him, that was just more like straight arm pressing, just working on that lockout and just being like relaxed and tying that in through the core is like an important skill. That's really having him focus on that final bit of that elbow extension, because it's easy for people to get a little bit soft elbows and lockouts, soft elbows and handstand walking and skills like that. So it's again an opportunity for him in a low skill environment to continue to work on that. And then we got 10 seconds of a finger facing wrist stretch. And then 5 sets, 8 scap handstand push-ups, 8 dumbbell lateral raises all the way overhead with 15-pound dumbbells per hand, and then 8 dumbbell bench press at 60 a hand with the feet up. That just kind of encourages a little bit more of a hollow body position. And again, not less pec, but having it will be the torso actually be flat on the bench versus like in an arch position where you can almost make it like a little bit of like a decline bench almost if you kind of game it. And I didn't want that. So that was, again, a bunch of quality focused work up to this point. And then we have it for time piece, 21, 15, 9. Bike erg calories, kettlebell thrusters with arm number 1. Bike erg calories, kettlebell thrusters with arm number 2. So you're doing 21 cows, 21 thrusters with the first arm, 21 cows, 21 thrusters with the second arm, and then moving through that in that sequence. And it is with a lighter weight. So it's 35-pound kettlebell. So relative to his ability level and what you're typically going to see, it's a little bit lighter, but that just allows for you to kind of keep the pedal down the entire time, which is really the goal there. And then just some flush mobility work. So that was Friday. Saturday, we got the name game, so I'll just plug that in. And again, I've already made sure all this kind of works, but we have a bunch of prep work. I'll skip over that here. And then we have skill work because this is actually a repeat of a workout that we did previously. And it's got some handstand shoulder taps. It's got burpee bar pullovers, which just seemed absolutely ridiculous at the time. And then the games programmed that summer, so it seems a little bit less ridiculous now. So it's basically prep work for that, as well as snatches, because that's our strength work for the day. Every minute and a half for 12 sets 1 through 6, we have a snatch high pull, a snatch, and an overhead squat, starting light, so like an RPE 6, and building to RPE 8. And then sets 7 through 12 is just one snatch, and that's starting at RPE 7 and ending at RPE 9. So basically continuing to build the weight on the bar and having the number of reps that you're doing obviously being pulled back halfway through to allow that bar weight to continue to progress. And then we have a rehearsal into the workout, which is tap dance. Again, I kind of mentioned this already, but it's basically rowing, burpee bar pullovers, and handstand shoulder taps in a box, 2 rounds of that, and then burpee bar muscle ups in the second half instead of the burpee bar pullover. And again, 2 more rounds. And then we have some quality focused work once again, rope climbs, parallel handstand push-ups. This is supposed to be 4 to 6 rounds. Again, just working on the quality of the movement. 2 rope climbs, 4 parallel handstand push-ups. And then extra credit, which he should get to, I believe. And I kind of worded that way because it's a lot of time, frankly, just to get to that point in the session. And especially for some athletes who don't have, well, no one does, but some athletes are a little bit more crunched on time, especially on the weekends. And that allows them to feel like they're still successful in getting all the work in. But also sometimes, depending on what the workout was before that, especially if it was a name game workout that's already really draining, I'm going to give a little bit more of extra credit option, because that way if people feel beat up at that point in the weekend, they can just call it and move on and again, feel like they're ending on a win. And if they feel like they got a little bit extra in the tank, or they just want to overreach a little bit, and for most of them, they're going into a rest day on Sunday anyway, so I'm perfectly okay with that. 4 sets at high effort, 30 calorie row, rest 3 minutes between, and then just some flesh and mobility work. Then finally, we got a rest day on Sunday, but we're going to add in our run prehab work. So a bunch of boring stuff here. We got ankle cars, calf raises, calf stretching, tib raises, single leg calf raises, reaching balance drills. We got single leg hops, curled seiza sit raises, right? Basically a bunch of ankle foot stability, mobility type drills, and things that are going to help you feel really good. And then finally building up to a empty bar overhead squat, 4 sets of 4, 2 to 3 minutes of mobility before each set to keep you feeling really good. And then some breath work after that. There you have it. That was a week. And while there was a lot there, a lot of it is just really high quality focused work. There's not a lot of high effort pieces throughout the week. There's not a lot of maximal strength work throughout the week. It is truly more of a foundational phase, and it allows somebody to stay, especially as like a master's athlete, allows them to stay hungry, frankly, right? Whereas it's a little bit easy as any athlete, as you start to feel a little bit more tired, a little bit more beat up, to just not feel like you're ready to grind when the time actually is appropriate for you to do that when it's competition prep. So the goal is always to get to your competition and feel good. But in order to do that, you first have to get to competition prep and feel good. And that's really the biggest thing here, is like you want to keep improving the things that are the most important to you while getting to your competition prep and feeling like you can actually put the pedal down and start to really train more intensively. And having opportunities throughout your year where you kind of take a little bit of a step back, let's call it, in order for you to really be able to push later on is really important. And doing it then that in a way where it's not just rest, or not just like really easy stuff that doesn't translate really well, or that actually kind of reverses your tolerance to certain movements. You want to continue to build the volume throughout the entirety of the week in a way that is still encouraging your best movement quality and allowing you to ultimately feel really good when you get to the place where you want to do that intensive training.